What's going on, everyone? My name's AJ. Welcome to the Adoration podcast. Today, I have a special guest, Nico Cabrera. He is one of the most selfless, caring, thoughtful, intentional, prideful, and kind people in my life, and I'm excited to talk to him. He's currently a nurse in the Bay Area, and he's from Santa Clara, California. I grew up with him, and like Mike in the previous episode, our fathers know each other through the military, and we grew up together. We used to go camping every single year. And I wanted to start off the topic of selflessness. Do you want to describe acts of selflessness that you've not only demonstrated back in the day when we grew up, but also in your current life?
Yeah, so selflessness, I feel like, is a big thing for the both of us. Growing up, like you said, we weren't necessarily blood, but I think our relationship goes further than that. We come from parents who came from nothing. In the Philippines, they came here, and selflessness was kind of like the central focus of how we were raised, doing things for other people, not thinking of yourself, not being selfish, wanting what's best for everyone else around you. And that's kind of how I would say they've raised us and how we've become such selfless people, because our parents set such a good example on what it means to care for other people, do the little things, even if it's, the small things are going to make people happy. And I think that's something me and you both can relate on, and something we carry with us every single day. So selflessness to me is just being able to take that extra step to make someone happy and go out of your time to do the little things, for sure.
So because I know you as being so selfless and thoughtful, how do you balance that with the stress of being a nurse?
The way I balance that is kind of throughout my life, I've always been super selfless, right? Doing little things for other people, and becoming a nurse, that's what a lot of nursing is. You're doing the little things to make people comfortable, make them healthy. You're ultimately trying to build a rapport with people that you've never met until that very moment. So I'm the kind of person who likes to put a lot of people before myself. And at times, it gets to the point where I don't think of myself at all. So in terms of balance, I use my work as a platform for me to be able to keep that part of myself of caring for other people, putting them first, building that rapport, so that at the end of the day, when I leave my job, I'm able to focus on myself, because self-care is huge. That's some thoughtfulness that I put in towards my personal care. So being able to have a job that allows me to continue to put that part of myself forward at the beginning of my day, it really helps me balance, like caring for people and also caring for myself, so I don't get too overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Self-care is really important, but the mixture of self-love with self-care really helps us mold our identity and who we want to grow to be in the future.
Yeah, building off of what you said about self-love, like that's something I'm very new to, in a sense. Going back to what we were saying about putting other people first, I felt like that was such a big part of my identity, that learning to care for myself, learning to put myself first in certain situations felt so uncomfortable. So self-love has been a huge part of me building my new identity, finding myself in when it comes to these big journeys in life going forward. And self-love is definitely something that has changed my life, I guess, is really shaping this new decade of life going into my 30s. It's definitely one of the foundations in a sense of how I'm going to lead my life going forward.
I think there's a difference between self-love, self-care, people-pleasing, and having that identity within yourself. Because sometimes, whether it's our job or our personal life with our relationships and every stress in our lives, it could be a big part of our identity. If I only DJ'd and I was a world headlining DJ, that would probably be a big part of my identity.
Absolutely.
Same with my day job, same with me doing YouTube videos, same with yourself in relationships or your nursing profession. I wanted to move on to emotions because I really admire the fact that you have so much adoration for everyone in your life, whether it's family, friends, your passions. Yeah. And I wanted to have you on the Adoration podcast. I have so much adoration for you. Like Mike, like Edgar, like Ferdy, you also make me the best version of myself and strive to be better as a human being. You're never afraid to wear your heart on your sleeve. And what makes you so open and vulnerable to your emotions and expressing yourself?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I guess when it comes to wearing my heart on my sleeve, when it comes to trusting someone, when it comes to putting yourself out there, meeting new people, interacting with people on an everyday basis, I've learned that by not wearing your emotions on your sleeve, depending on who you're dealing with, they can sense the bullshit. They can sense that you're trying to fake it till you make it, kind of thing. And in my job, or even before my job, I think wearing my emotions on my sleeve allows me to be my true self. I feel like whenever I don't do that, I'm putting on a huge front. I'm not allowed to, I feel like I'm putting up a facade that is there to please people, which, going back to what we said, like pleasing people, putting people first, that's a huge part of who we are. And sometimes we get lost in that. We get lost in, we tend to lose sight of ourselves. So when emotions comes to being put out on my sleeve. It's kind of like laying your cards out on the table, right? Because this sounds kind of corny, I guess, but life's this big game. It could be like a game of poker or whatever, but you're dealt this hand, and a lot of the times in these games, you're taught to hide it because you're trying to win this ultimate prize. But at the end of the day, you don't know what people are dealing with. You don't know if you putting your emotions on your sleeve is going to help people relate to you better. And my big thing is being able to relate with people on different levels. So wearing my emotions on my sleeve just allows me to be vulnerable, allows me to make people comfortable, and just allows me to relate to people.
Nico has been a great inspiration for this podcast and a muse for every discussion that we have. These are basically conversations that we have in real life. Obviously, a little bit different with all the lighting and the cameras, but naturally, Nico helps me put my heart on my sleeve like I usually wouldn't have in the past. And we've both gone through a lot of healing journeys, which is in correlation to our identity. We've had to do a lot of healing, whether it's relationships and everything else. Is there anything that you wanted to let the people know about as far as your journey on healing, or any tips that you would give others to not only lose themselves in another person or profession, but have their self-growth path and have that love for themselves, but also others without people pleasing them?
Yeah, man, when it comes to healing, that's a huge topic because, I think me and you have both been through some things that have definitely shaken up our journey, make us take a lot of detours and almost felt like a roadblock in a sense, right? But I would say throughout my journey so far, healing has been something that I've understood to be a never-ending process. And that's okay. Going back to being able to relate to people and understanding people, when it comes to healing, I feel like we try to give ourselves this unrealistic timeline whether we believe it or not. We tell ourselves, oh man, when this passes, I want to be able to do this, do that. And we put so much pressure on us trying to figure shit out that we don't really allow ourselves to feel what we're really feeling, if that makes sense. In terms of my healing and the things I've been through, a lot of trauma, a lot of triggers happen. And when you don't allow yourself to feel that and allow those triggers to kind of go off in a sense, you never know how to handle things. You tend to, like I said, have this unrealistic expectation that things are going to be okay. And if it's not okay, that's fine. I feel like in our day and time, a lot of people aren't okay with admitting that things aren't okay. For me, whether it's relationships, love, moving back home after finishing nursing school, there's been a lot of things that have happened, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't change a thing because it's helped me become the person I am. And going back to saying that healing is a never-ending process, when you allow yourself to understand that, when new things come up and when things are out of place and when things don't turn out the way you expect them to, you allow yourself the grace to kind of go about it in a way that it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like you need to. I guess we could put it this way. You put yourself in a sense where you're no longer trying to please another person, because when you do that, you don't allow yourself, I would say the time to really fully heal. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah.
It does take a lot of time to heal, and we all have our individual battles and journeys and traumas that we've all been through. And whenever I hang out with Nico, I can't say it enough. He makes me feel more vulnerable and like I have to wear my heart on my sleeve more and more.
You have to, bro.
And how to be more compassionate. And I definitely agree with what you said about having something on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Because once you put a person or a job or any expectation on a pedestal, it's exactly that, the expectation of what you overhyped, and it skews your fantasy, which you think is your reality.
Yeah, something I think that comes with healing is, I'll use love for an example. A lot of times, I'll put this out there, no one's perfect. People make mistakes, and it takes too much energy to really focus on the things that went bad. I would say when it comes to healing, the biggest thing that I've learned from that is, if you're not able to forgive, you're never going to be able to forgive yourself. You're never going to be able to accept things. And I think something that's really important, and I think you've come a long way in this too, is you've taken the time to really step back and understand when things went wrong, where things went wrong, the part you play in your own suffering, and the things you chose to ignore. And ultimately, that's not such necessarily a bad thing, because going back to what we said about healing in our journey, you run into these roadblocks for a reason. Rejection is redirection, right? A lot of people take rejection as like, damn, am I good enough? Am I not good enough? What's going on? Did I make the wrong choice? You can think that way. You can be stuck in your head forever about that, but it's not going to take you anywhere. So taking the time to really step back, understand where things went wrong, understanding the role you play, forgiveness, all of those things and more. It just allows you to be at peace with yourself. Something I think being at peace with yourself is nothing money, a woman, love, none of that can bring that to you unless you're really in tune with yourself. In terms of that, bro, just being able to understand things in a greater scheme than just what you want it to be rather than taking it for what it is. So something to really, I would say a lot of people, if you can relate to this, is don't get so caught up on what you want it to be. Take things for face value, move forward with that, and build from there for sure.
There's a lot of things that you said in that really resonated with me, especially just taking a step back and taking the time to heal and understand what happened and understand what your reality is and how your fantasy of the expectation of the future really affects your presence.
Yeah. With building off what you said about the future, when we get stuck on the future so much, we forget what's really in front of us. We don't take things day by day like we should be, because when you think too far right here and you don't deal with what's going on here, you're never gonna get there, even though you expect yourself to or you want to. So it's just something that comes with age and experience, bro. And I think we've both experienced different things that help us get to this point, and which is the reason why we're here. Yeah.
And like you said, whenever you think you're healed and fully good to go, I would say specifically in like a relationship setting, you meet a person, you're so excited, and all your patterns from the past relationships come to life.
Yeah.
And you find yourself either recognizing those patterns or repeating those patterns. And it doesn't allow for your personal growth. And you may repeat actions or tendencies that are people pleasing when you're not being true to yourself. And same with other people. The way you act to them may be a projection of what your actual intent is and what their actual intent is. So I think it's important to really communicate, have boundaries, and slow down if you're thinking things are going too fast. But if you think they're going too slow, you could also just be very direct in your communication, but respectful in the same way.
Absolutely. And I want to build off what you said about repetitive nature and habits, right? I feel like a lot of time when you're trying to experience something new with someone, you realize you repeat these patterns that go back to you playing a role in your own suffering and past things. To me, with my experience, I'm happy those repetitive patterns come up only when you're able to identify why the pattern is bad. Because you can go into something completely new and that pattern never shows up, and then ultimately you've never really fixed the problem. You kind of just put a Band-Aid over that shit. So repetitive patterns aren't necessarily a bad thing. Just make sure you catch on where things went wrong and nip it in the bud before it all repeats itself all over again.
One time is a mistake, the second time's a coincidence, and the third time's a habit. I don't believe in coincidences. It takes too much energy and time in our hearts to hold resentment or grudges against people. But at the same time, it's not just about that person. It may ultimately be only about them in a selfish manner. But at the same time, we have to look within ourselves. Absolutely. And understand, are we acting this way because we don't love ourselves enough and practice that self-care?
Going off of people pleasing and what makes ourselves happy, I think there comes a time where things have you've become so used to the people pleasing, and that when that becomes a part of your identity, seeing other people happy makes you happy. And that, in a sense, can be a double-edged sword, because as much as we want to make people happy, are we really happy in the process, right? While that's a big part of who we are, we never really take a step back and look at ourselves like, man, am I happy? Our answer always comes out to, well, everything I'm doing makes this person happy. So you feel like in your power, you're doing what you can for that person, for another person, for other people. And you never really take the time to really reflect on if you're really happy. But that kind of comes with time. That comes with experience and just you being able to reflect and evaluate and move forward.
I think that's a really poignant way to put it, because a lot of people try to create a love story, and I'm grateful that we have many family members, friends, and loved ones that have such fruitful love for decades at a time, and we're still both trying to find that. And I'm grateful to have you on this podcast so we could have this conversation and talk to people about really creating a love story that's authentic, caring, calm, and makes us feel at peace.
Absolutely. Peace is the biggest one. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times we may ask friends or family members or have an expectation about that person for ourselves, internally and externally, that really skews our reality and has a pedestal of the fantasy.
Yeah, man, it's really big that you said that, because I feel like a lot of times when it comes to love and relationships, there's always biased opinions with friends. Of course, they're always going to have your side with family. They're always going to have your side, and they're not going to be able to understand things the way that you do. Because when you're in the midst of it, right, you see both sides and you're trying to understand the other side. And for me, being able to understand what went wrong for my own personal life, a lot of the time you reach out to friends. Sometimes we feel like we say a little too much to people, but it's because we're looking for validation. Because in that sense, in that moment in time, you're still trying to piece everything together. And when you're able to hear that validation about why things happen and whether you're in the right or you're in the wrong, that kind of helps clear things up. But you also have to realize when you reach out to those close people, it's very selective hearing.
Yes.
Right? Because they're going to give you their 2 cents. And I appreciate all my loved ones, all my closest friends, the homies for always giving me their 2 cents. And there are some times where like, yeah, I get you. I understand you and I appreciate everything you're saying. And I'll be honest, sometimes I've been very known for just being selective and telling them, yeah, but I'm still going to do it this way. And they're always going to let me do what I want to do at the end of the day. But they just want to make sure that I know that I'm being supported. So selective hearing is something that's definitely happens when you reach out for validation. But at the end of the day, as long as you have those people who support you, then I think you end up being okay in the end.
I think it's important to listen to others' opinions, but also understand your thoughts as well and try to make a rational decision with your emotions, as hard as that sounds. But you can't really make rational decisions of emotions sometimes.
You can't. And when you're coming from a background of making other people happy, like me and you, when you ask for that validation and you hear something you don't want to hear, you're like, damn, am I really going about this the wrong way? Because you want to make your friends happy too. You don't want to disappoint them. And it's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, but it's sometimes your friends know better than you do. And, at the end of the day, I appreciate them for always having my back and making sure I see it through before making big decisions. Yeah.
Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that, Nico.
Yeah.
What is your biggest fear personally and professionally? I ask that because we both share these people-pleasing tendencies and we're on the continuous growth to be better brothers, sons, uncles, and just human beings as a whole. And me personally, I lost a lot of self-love for myself when others were my biggest fans. I didn't even believe in myself. And what are some of the steps that you're taking to heal and really conquer your fears for the future?
My biggest fear for the future, building off of everything we've talked about, is, damn, that one stumped me a little bit.
No worries. I can share too if you want.
Yeah, you share a little bit, then I'll build off of you. Let me think about this a little bit.
Yeah, so my biggest fear was, I would say, getting into a serious relationship and just getting the excitement of it and the fear of losing it. That's more so personally.
Yeah.
And professionally, I would say I've always had a fear of not having a job. And when two things like losing a significant other and your job happen simultaneously, you lose your identity.
Yeah.
And that's where it all comes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, about self-love and self-care, because self-care is not enough in my opinion. I think you need that self-love for yourself, or else you're going to continue to have those people-pleasing tendencies.
Yeah. Professionally, my biggest fear is becoming complacent. Having a career in nursing, there's so much room for growth. I think especially where I work, there's a lot of opportunities to advance your career, switch between units, challenge yourself. And for me, I feel like I'm in a good position where I have the opportunity to do that. But at the same time, there's like, man, I really like what I'm doing. I feel like I've built a routine. And my biggest fear is just getting complacent and just losing that feeling of wanting to be challenged. Because everyone wants to be comfortable. Everyone wants to have a routine. Everyone wants to just be able to wake up in the morning and be like, oh yeah, I know what I'm going to do, this and that. But I think at the end of the day, if I ever lose that hunger to be challenged, then I know I'm in trouble. That's my biggest fear professionally. Personally, I think when it comes to relationships, whether it's family, friends, love, my biggest fear is not taking a chance on myself. Going back to what you said of losing your identity and losing belief in yourself. When you question yourself as a man and the things you've done and things happen in a way where you're like, man, I really did everything I could and things still didn't work out, you kind of lose confidence. You lose that sense of self. You lose, I guess we can go back to, you kind of lose your identity, right? My biggest fear is not allowing myself to take that chance to really step out of my comfort zone, get out of what's comfortable. Every day as I move forward, I take everything face value. I see what opportunities lie in front of me, see where I can grow, see what things I need to take out of my life. And yeah, my biggest fear is definitely not taking a chance on myself. And I think that comes a lot with us, the way we grew up being selfless. Like when you were talking about, having belief in yourself, and, we're our biggest critics. We're our own biggest critics. And growing up, I think we were we had the opportunity to build this part of our identity of being humble, right? Yeah, we have pride in a sense, but we're not too prideful. We're always very humble, very grateful for things. And sometimes when whether we did good or bad, we don't feel like we deserve certain things, right? So that's a big part of I think who we are. And yeah, biggest fear is not taking a chance on myself and putting myself in a position to really excel and grow. Yeah.
You're not alone, and I want to thank you again so much for just being so vulnerable and sharing your fears. But I do think that we also have a lot of success.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we're planning for all this growth, but things are actually happening. So, what are some successes that you have currently in your professional life and your personal life?
Man, let's see. Successes I've had. Success that I've had in my professional life is, even before following through with nursing, I actually finished my degree in child development and I wanted to go into teaching. So I'm taking this role at work where we have these new grad nurses coming in and I'm able to be a preceptor where I'm in this position where I get to teach them how things work. Kind of, in a sense, like a teacher role that I've always hungered for, right? It's something I've always wanted to do. That really put me through the ringer in terms of seeing if I'm really built for that. So having that have happen and continuing to happen goes back to my biggest fear. I'm taking that, running with it, and taking a chance on myself to see if I can push myself further and hopefully become like a clinical professor in the future on the side. And that's a success I have in work. Personally, success that I've had is putting myself first by any means necessary at any cost. There's nothing wrong with putting other people before you, but there's a time and place where putting yourself first is what you need to do. And by you doing that, you being the best version of yourself, you're able to be a better person for other people, and you're able to make other people happy. So I think taking that chance on myself by any means necessary has been something I've been able to pride myself in and be proud of myself for, because I've never done that before. And even though it's scary, even though, you might hurt some people along the way, I think things are on the up and up. And that's all because I've really put my faith in God, and I've really asked him, like, hey, I think I know what I need to do. I'm putting it in your hands, and just continue to guide me and give me signs if I'm doing the right thing. Give me signs if I'm doing something wrong so I can reevaluate, adjust, and just move forward.
I love that so much. You shared that you have to show up for yourself before you can show up for others. And I definitely resonate with that because the way that we grew up is so selfless. Sometimes we lose that self-care and self-love for ourselves, which is a reoccurring theme of what we've just been talking about this whole time. Yeah. So for me professionally, I'm in a role where I could see a lot of upward mobility in my responsibility. So I'm really excited to see what I could do there. And obviously I have a lot of opportunity and growth in YouTube and DJing. I just have to pick one and fully invest my energy, but slowly but surely
you'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I think what's cool about you is that you have so many passions and you're taking the time for yourself to really invest time in all of those things. Finding out and learning new things with everything. So that's something that I admire about you, because you're able to take that stuff full on and you really run with it. Whether, things go smoothly or not, at least you're giving it a shot.
I just wanted to thank you again for the kind words.
Yeah.
Everything that you said is reciprocated, whether it's the adoration or just respect.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
A lot of times I think we focus on the result versus the steps that it takes to get the result, which is ultimately what kind of matters. So a lot of times I think about the big picture, but I don't forget about the steps in between.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely trying to carry those successes in my professional life into my personal life, and that same mentality of self-love. Because in this past 4 years since the pandemic, I actually gained a lot of self-love, self-confidence, and it shows in my face and my physique, but also in my aura and energy that I bring to other people. And just reaching out to Nico, Ferdy, Mike, Edgar, and everyone that I wanted to hang out with, I just feel like the energy is reciprocated because I'm showing up for others during a time when I couldn't even show up for myself. But now I'm showing up for myself and it's showing to others. And I just want to reciprocate positivity or vibes that they share with me, and just be respectful in the process.
Yeah, bro, it's infectious, dude.
Yeah,
it's
thank
infectious,
you, man.
bro. Yeah.
And I lost a lot of self-love and self-confidence for myself in those past 4 years, from 2020 to 2024. Yeah. I was probably the most low functioning I've ever been in my entire life, but now I'm probably the most high functioning I've ever been in my entire life.
But with that though, I'm a big believer that you have to hit rock bottom. You have to hit that low point in order for you to project forward, right? Because everything's great. Everything's great when everything goes right. But if that's all then when things hit rock bottom, you're like, oh shit, like what do I do? Yeah. So I think it's important for a lot of us to go through these experiences that kind of take us to our lows, right? Because that's where we learn the most about ourselves. I think me and you had a lot of talks about whether it's relationships, friendships, whatever, about like things we've experienced when we're at the bottom. And little did we know that we'd relate so much on it, you know, whether we knew it or not. But I think that's what I've appreciated the most about us reconnecting, because us growing up as kids, we used to go camping every year, see each other at family parties. But then I think we got to an age where a lot of us kind of separated and didn't see each other much. So it's really refreshing that me and AJ in the past couple of years have been able to reconnect and find out we relate on a lot of things. And we've been able to rebuild this friendship as family, and it's been kind of cool. So we're running with it, and we're doing this, and it's been hell of a journey so far with him. So,
And Nico is not necessarily my blood family, but I do consider him a cousin still, even though we're close family friends.
Filipino things.
Filipino things. Hashtag just Filipino things.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you. For me, this year, it's been a lot of practice in discipline and willpower. Yeah. I stopped drinking. I started tracking all my meals. I started working out every single day. I think I only missed the first week of January because I was sick. Yeah. But that's something for me to just keep going. Obviously, it's nice to hear people saying, oh, wow, you look like you're healthy, or did you lose weight? It's always nice to hear. But at the end of the day, it's really self-care and self-love for myself. I feel like I almost need to micromanage my habits, my self-discipline, and my willpower because I need to be intentional. And I think that's really, really important. Yep. And you inspire me a lot as far as your experience in relationships, your wisdom, and your kind nature, and the fact that you never want to be complacent. That always inspires me to do better personally and professionally. And if you don't live intentionally, life is going to make decisions for you unintentionally. Nico is a prime example of being very, very, very intentional. And I always take notes on that because sometimes I get really excited in situations, personally and professionally. But he is a testament to being very intentional. So are there any short-term or long-term intentions that you personally have? It could be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, however you want to say it.
Honestly, I don't think you can really put a time on intention, because that's something you carry with you every single day, right? I could say now that I'm very intentional with my time and where I put my energy, who I spend my time with, who I put my energy towards, and that comes a lot from me feeling that the intention towards me was never really reciprocated. If I were to put a timeline on it, I would say in 5 years, I would love to get to that point of hopefully starting a family or something, meeting the love of my life, and just, taking that step forward. But like I said, we don't like getting too far ahead anymore. Yeah, I think intention is something you can't really put time on, because it's something you take with you everywhere you go. With that being said, in terms of relationships, you being intentional really means just you're putting a lot of thought and effort into what you do with people. Because whether you've experienced heartbreak, you've experienced the highs and lows with love, right? You never want to go about something feeling like you didn't give it your all, because that's where regret and resentment set in. Yeah. So with intention, if you're really gonna value and focus your time on someone or something, make sure you're doing it full bore, 100%, so that when things don't work out, if things don't work out, and whether things fall short or whatever, you'll never have the regret like, man, I should have tried harder. I should have put more thought and effort into that. And going off that again, no one's perfect, right? But if you make a mistake knowing you gave it your all, you can live with that.
I definitely agree with you that intention is not quantifiable by time. And I think my question was more so goals with intention, because I know that everything you do is with intention.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Let me redo that then.
No, I'll read. But no, that's actually a really good point, because the way I kind of worded the question was, is there a time limit on what you want to do? But it's more of a goal.
Well, putting into it with time too, I guess you could say what I would say, by you being intentional with everything you do moving forward, when opportunity shows up, when new goals show up, there's gonna be no hesitation to go for it.
Yes. Because
now if you have the right energy, the right mentality, it's like, oh damn, I can really go for that. There's no more hesitation. So I guess going back to what you're saying, I wouldn't necessarily say I have any goals in the next year, 5 years, but I'm no longer afraid to put that energy towards something that comes up, because I know it could be a life-changing moment. It could be something that, I've been looking for without really looking for it. If the opportunity arises, now I have the intent that I'm just going to go for it, because I got nothing to lose these days.
And just hearing that from you and knowing the person you are has always inspired me to be more vulnerable, be more intentional, but also be more open to communication.
Yep.
Because if you're intentional but you're not open to communication, then you're kind of not being intentional with your time.
Yeah.
Because you're not saying what you want, and you're prolonging something you either don't want or want but don't have.
Yeah. Something that someone told me recently is that one conversation can fix anything and everything. So, going back to intent and communication and whatever, just whether you know what you want to say, whether you have the right things to say, whether you're stuck or whatever, say something. Get the ball rolling. At least the conversation started. You never expect something to be fixed overnight. Never expect that you're going to have the answers and the solutions right away. But as long as you get that conversation started with whoever it is, at least you got the ball rolling and it's on the table now. It's on your sleeve, bro. You're wearing it on your sleeve. You know what I mean?
You put your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
And if that person is right for you, or if that job is right for you, things will happen to make it really right for you. If it's not, it'll either go away, or you're just lingering on the thought that it should be for you when your reality will eventually come to you if you don't force it.
Yeah, you'll never know unless you open the door, bro. Right? Opportunity could be right there. The door could be right there. It could be labeled big, red, bold signs, you know? And you could be there complacent or be like, damn, there it is. You can be hesitant and wait, or you can just take the chance, open the door, and see what's on the other side. If you don't take that chance, you'll never know.
So I've always known you to be a very prideful person. What is the most proud moment of your life so far?
Most proud moment for myself is finishing nursing school, for sure. I always laugh at it because very stereotypical shit, right? Filipino nurse. But, you know, growing up, I had the opportunity to be around my mom a lot with work. She's a dietitian, and she brought me around her work a lot. And I've been surrounded by amazing nurses who've really inspired me to want to become that kind of person for people. So I think having that come full circle and really me being able to finish that as a career and have that lead my life right now is something that I'm very proud of. You know, my biggest dream was one day working with my mom in the same hospital, and I was able to have that opportunity 2 years ago. You know, she was like, man, how cool would it be if I was able to see her charting? Started working with her at the same hospital. Things happened, and she was able to do that. So for me, that's probably been my proudest moment professionally. I say proudest moment personally is, I think, honestly, right now, talking here with you, because I would say I'm pretty open to a lot of people, but being able to stand up on this podcast with you and really be vulnerable and share to people my experiences and what I think about certain things is definitely something I don't think I would never thought I would have ever done, right? But I think because me and you have related so much and feel like we can have people relate to us, this has probably been my proudest moment personally, because I'm not afraid of being vulnerable again, not being afraid to want to build rapport with and build relationships with other people. So this right here has probably been personally my proudest moment, because I'm able to be vulnerable again and put myself out there.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that this platform is not only for myself, not only for you, but for others to hopefully get some tidbits and be more vulnerable with themselves and also with others. For me personally, the most fulfilling and proud moment in my life professionally is interning at fashion houses, not taking the SATs or the ACTs, and just working in all types of industries and doing what I want to do on my own accord. Personally, you're just being very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I know that we have a lot of these talks, and we're honestly holding back a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And personal
a
examples.
lot of details and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
I really want to just show my adoration and appreciation for you, because we have so much thoughts about love, work, and every intention that we have in our lives. It's hard to just have one podcast on this. We always end up, having fun, talking about sports, food, and everything else.
Yeah. But when we get into like this real life, like love, relationships, like personal stuff, like me and him talk for hours. We'll get food and shit, it'll be 1 p.m. Next thing you know, we're like, oh damn, bro, it's 3 and we just had a cup of coffee, right? Yeah, this is normal for us.
And I keep saying that Nico makes me a better person as far as my relationships, because he actually shows me what love is as far as your family, your friends, because he always says he loves his friends and his family. And that's something I've always been scared to do. I remember when I was younger, someone would say good night and I'd be scared to say good night. That's how much compassion I think I lacked. So now I just try to be more vulnerable and take a lot of notes from you, because you're so compassionate. You wear your heart on your sleeve, and you're so prideful and intentional in what you do.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. I've seen a lot of growth with you too when it comes to that. And it shows. It shows because I see the confidence you have, and I see how more comfortable, like, you have a pep in your step again, bro. Like, it's good to see, dog.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, bro.
You too, man.
Yeah.
I love to see it, bro.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to memory. I know that we went through healing, confidence, pride. What is the best memory and the worst memory you've ever recalled in your life?
Most recent best memory?
Whichever memory you want to do. You know, it could be recent.
Since we're going off of a lot of, selflessness, healing, and stuff like that. If we're going on the most recent, I just went on a trip to Hawaii for my best friend Tristan. It was his wife's 30th birthday, and it was my best friend Adrian's first time in Hawaii. My friend Sandeep. It was his first time in Hawaii, and it was a trip that, God, it was one of those things where, when you say, man, that shit was a movie. Yeah. That was a movie, bro, because, I've been to Hawaii a couple of times, but this was the first time I really went, not just for other people, but for myself. It was a good time to refresh, rest, put my mind at ease, being in the islands, being in the water. I fucking love the water. So just being out there and being able to be with the people who love me and people that I love, that's probably been the best memories most recently, just because everyone has their circle, and to be able to experience that with them is something that I'll never ever forget. And those are the experiences and traveling memories that I'll always cherish, because how often do you get 20 of your closest homies to go to out of state and celebrate, some of the most important people in your life? So that's probably the best memory of recently. So
when Nico was talking about it being a movie, I saw all his Instagram posts, and I was like, that's for sure a movie.
It was a movie, dude.
I don't even live a feature film. I only live trailers or short films, man. So.
Yeah, dude, it was a movie for sure. Yeah. Life was perfect out there for the time we were there. No worry in the world, just living life and enjoying it for what it was. So, yeah.
I love that so much, because I know your group of friends that are so dear to you, and you guys have so much camaraderie, love, and reciprocation and intention.
And what's cool about them too is, and I know you'll appreciate this, is that I have these same conversations with them all the time. We were having these conversations in the damn car ride going to different beaches and stuff, and I was like, and it was getting emotional there, dude. But it was, to find that those people, and being a man, like having those guy friends you can really open up to, is huge, because like you just said earlier, you're not alone. They make sure you're not alone, and it's really comforting. It's something I think every man needs, to have that group of friends, especially guy friends that can understand you from our perspective, for sure.
Yeah, because you could have friends that you talk about sports with, you talk about fashion with, you talk about cars or DJing with, but you have to have those friends that make you feel heard, seen, and included.
Absolutely.
And your friends do a great job. I'm not necessarily super close with them, but they always make me feel so welcome.
Oh, yeah,
and
bro.
we always get along. We have such great vibes that just reciprocate off one each energy.
Yeah, with my big thing with my friends and like people I call family is like, if you bring someone that that we don't necessarily know, we know them. We're going to treat them like we know them. They're always going to be included. We're never going to leave them out, and it's always going to be a function. It's always going to be fun. Yeah.
As long as they're not meanies, I would say.
No. Absolutely.
I think some of the best memories that I've ever had in my life is us going camping with one another.
Yes.
With family, friends, and also just family parties that I've had. We haven't had a lot of family parties. Sometimes I just really miss those family parties and just times with us camping.
I do too, bro. We would look forward to those every year. And I know I've been talking to Michelle about it. We want to get that thing rolling again, because now everyone has kids. It's a new generation coming up, and we want them to experience the same stuff we did. I think that's something that's lost in today's day and age, is really getting people together and having your kids experience what you experience with your friends, your family. And yeah, so hopefully we get that thing rolling again, bro. That should be sick.
Hopefully. Sure. It's so different nowadays with technology, with social media. A lot of folks probably don't want to camp as much because we have so much conveniences like air conditioning and just cell phones and working showers. Why would you want to go to a shower where you got to share with everyone?
Dude, camping, bro, we used to have you thought y'all had good breakfast on the weekend at home. Like, you have all the aunties and uncles wake up at like 5 a.m., bro. You got a whole buffet of Filipino food. Like, that was crazy.
We'd have better food at camping than
we did at home.
Exactly.
That's facts.
That's love, bro.
That's all love, bro. That's all them wanting to make it a good time for us as kids. So I think it's our turn to return the favor for all of our siblings and cousins having kids now. So we got to run that back.
So thanks for sharing that great memory. I think I don't want to get to the opposite spectrum or anything, but the worst memory for me is just having a feeling of feeling rejected, not only externally, but internally.
Yeah.
Rejecting my own self-love and rejecting my own self-care.
Yeah, building off that, I think my worst memory is my worst memory. I wouldn't say exactly what it was, but I had the feeling of I wasn't good enough. I felt like I wasn't deserving enough, and I couldn't look at myself in the mirror for months at a time, right? Because I looked at myself like, damn, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? What did you do? What did you mess up? Right? So I've had that. That's probably my worst memory so far, and that's honestly that's a big reason why I got a bunch of tattoos, because you know, internally I didn't feel like I was changing, but looking myself in the mirror with physical changes was something that helped me kind of move forward. And I found I got a lot of meaning behind a lot of the tattoos I have, and it's a kind of a reminder that like this has a lot to do with my family. Both of them do a lot of stuff I have on, and to me it's kind of that reminder that like there was more to life than what I was going through, and I had so much to be grateful for. So that's why physically I did those changes. But yeah, that memory of just not being able to look at yourself, dude, after going through so much and working so hard for something was probably the hardest part of my life in terms of memories, for sure.
I never knew that. I never knew that about changing something about your appearance. But I do think that it's very important to do things that help your self-confidence.
Yeah.
Because you are enough.
Yeah.
You should look at yourself in the mirror and have that confidence.
Yeah.
And we're just taking strides to do that. And we're both glowing and
Yeah.
trying to reciprocate
Yeah.
every energy that we have for
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, you know, no one's perfect. We're all humans.
Yep.
But we're trying
No
our
one's
best.
perfect, bro. Yeah.
So I've been actually compiling a lot of thoughts. I got this from Jay Shetty. I have a jar where I write a bunch of memories from friends, guests, family, and even random strangers. What is their favorite quote and what is the best lesson in life that they've ever heard thus far? And that goes to daily affirmations. I post a lot of daily affirmations on Instagram and on my social medias, but I wanted to do a new activity where we get these affirmation cards and you select one and we just talk about it and we get our real thoughts on it.
Can I say my favorite quote that I've had so far real quick? It might not even relate to what we're going to see, but something I used to tell AJ, because we have different experiences when it comes to relationships and stuff, is comparison is the thief of joy. I always used to tell him that, you know, it doesn't matter the kind of love you experience, you still loved. You still put yourself out there to be vulnerable. And when it comes to that, you can't compare your healing. You can't compare your relationships to other people, because at that time, bro, you were in it. You were feeling it. You were going through all the emotions, right? So who am I or who's anyone to tell you that what you were going through was nothing close to what I went through? Because at the end of the day, bro, love is love. You were being vulnerable. And like when you compare your healing, your experiences to other people's, man, like that doesn't allow you to heal. It doesn't allow you to really dig deep and, you know, learn those things about yourself. So for all of you out there that are going through tough shit right now, don't compare yourself to other people. Comparison is a thief of joy. It's going to make things difficult for you to really digest, because you're always going to think it needs to be a certain way because of what other people went through. But your healing is different from other people's, and it's your own individual journey. So don't feel like you have to go through things and go about things the same way other people did.
Nico is so kind in that, right? Just to give some context, he has over a decade of relationship experience, and I have less than, let's say, 6 months, if not a year of relationship experience. But what he just said really resonated with me. I remember where we sat, what we were eating, what we were drinking.
Yeah. I remember the exact scenario.
The whole scenario we both remember. It really helped me understand that being vulnerable is okay. And just because something traumatic happened to you doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person. You just have to be present, because naturally bad things are going to happen, and it's how you react to those bad things and how you grow.
Absolutely.
I think it was just what you said about putting yourself out there and being vulnerable.
Yeah. Because
ultimately that heartbreak made me the best person I ever have been in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm striving to do much more with that.
Yeah.
So
just because you've been through some shit doesn't mean you still can't put your best foot forward.
Exactly.
You still got to take a chance on yourself. Because at the end of the day, there was a you before that person. So you got to go back to find that new you, that new normal, and run with it.
And when push comes to shove, that person made me the best person I could be and show up for myself, which allows me to show up for others and be more abundant, be more healed, be more healthy.
Yes.
Man.
Couldn't have said it better, bro.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Hold
on, huh? Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, so let's do the affirmation part of it. So I don't know why it has a coffee stain on it, but this is the card. It says mindful affirmations. The company is called Intelligent Change. It comes with this stand and also an affirmation card that you could pull. The current affirmation card that we pulled, Mike Nunez from the last podcast actually pulled this. It says, I see challenges in my life as opportunities for growth. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, because if Mike pulled it, it's always a good one.
I see challenges in my life as opportunities for growth.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what we were saying about taking a chance on yourself, right? You're going to be faced with all these different challenges, and it's all a matter of how you perceive it and how you move forward with it. So going back to intention, if you have the right intention every day for yourself and the opportunities that come around, then you won't be afraid to challenge yourself. And by you doing that, you're going to grow immensely in any way, shape, or form. So don't look at challenges as bad things. Don't be afraid of the challenges, hardships. Pressure makes diamonds, in a sense, right? Pressure makes diamonds. And if you're afraid of the pressure, if you're afraid of the challenge, then you're never going to grow.
I always think about the boxing analogy. I don't know which one, but he said it's hard to get up in the morning when you wake up in silk sheets, because he became a world champion.
Yeah.
And he had everything given to him. He was the man. But there's a time when, if you're at that level, do you become complacent? Do you avoid the challenges? And for me personally, I always have it drilled into my head that what you put in life is what you get out. You either in and you out. You either sure or you doubt. I try to be sure. I try to be in. I try to be decisive. So I can make those intentional decisions and make sure that life doesn't make aimless decisions that are unintentional, even though you're not going to know about it.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's do it. Let's do the activity where you select a card.
I feel like it's going to be good. I have a feeling.
I hope so.
Yeah. I feel it's going to be a good one, bro. Do I have to pull a top one or can I pull anyone?
Anyone.
Shit. Oh. Dog, I'm telling you, bro. Wow. Okay.
You want to show it to the people?
Yeah. Check this out, y'all.
Oh,
hold on. Let me read it real quick. I am on the right path, and I trust that things are moving in my favor. Wow. That's, told you I was going to pull something that was going to hit me, bro.
I am on the right path, and I trust things that are moving in my favor. I think that's a perfect way to conclude the podcast, because Nico and I have been so well-intentioned thus far, so self-disciplined, and practicing our willpower and habit building that this quote and affirmation really resonates with both of us.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, bro, take a chance on yourself, bro. Things will move in your favor.
It just goes back to the intentionality, selflessness, care, kindness, and compassion that we love to show others in a daily basis. And it shows in our personal life and professional life.
Yeah, and it's also something that, we were raised with. So it's something that sticks with us everywhere we go. So I hope through this podcast, you guys are able to relate on a certain level. And, bro, it's really refreshing that we were able to do this. I think I've been looking forward to this for a while, ever since you posted your first one. So
same here, man.
That's great, bro.
I got so much adoration for you.
Same to you, bro.
Once again, This is Nico Cabrera. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. This was Adoration with AJ. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. That was dope, bro.
Yeah. No, that was sick.
That was good, dude. That was a good one.
That was good, bro.